It took me 2 hours from discovering Mary's infidelity to moving out of our apartment. No confrontation, no notice. As adults, the last bit of rationality we can hold on to during a breakup is to maintain our dignity. No matter how much it hurts or how much I hate it, I must appear calm and unbothered by it. It all started when Mary and I were on the phone, and I heard the sound of another phone in her car. It was the iMessage notification. I was taken aback and asked, "Did you buy another phone?" Mary responded calmly, "The car window is open." It was a passerby's phone ringing. I didn't believe a word of it. It was midnight, and she was driving fast. What passerby could keep up with her speed? I asked another question, "You're driving so fast. How could a passerby's phone sound come through?" She was silent for a few seconds, then suddenly said, "Seth, are you suspecting me of cheating on you?" Before I could respond, she said angrily, "I left work in the middle of the night to rush back, and you suspect me? I'm so tired, and you still don't understand. Forget about it. I'll just go back to the office to work." Then she hung up and wouldn't answer my calls again. She seemed to have forgotten that the reason she was rushing back was because today is my birthday. I sat on the sofa, staring at the cake in front of me, thinking about how she has been working late every night since her promotion, barely even talking to me. We hadn't even saved enough for a down payment on a house, yet she somehow managed to come up with the down payment for a BMW. I realized that if I continued to trust her, I'd be a fool. I picked up my phone and made a call. "Albert, can you come pick me up? I'll send you the address." Shortly after, a Land Rover pulled up downstairs and took me to Mary's office. I stood in the cold wind, looking up at the dark windows of her office, realizing that I had been a fool for the past few months. I quietly got back into the car, and we drove to the apartment Mary and I rented. After getting out of the car, I said to Uncle Albert, "Albert, wait for me downstairs for a bit. I'm going to pack my things." Albert nodded. I turned and went upstairs, back to the apartment Mary and I shared. I looked at the cake on the table, opened a bottle of beer, and started eating the cake and drinking the beer while packing my things. In this small rented room, the flowers were planted by me, the tablecloth was bought by me, and every corner bore the marks of my efforts. Mary and I once shared both the good and the bad times here, and it was sweet. I had pursued her earnestly, and after she agreed, she was the perfect girlfriend, gentle, beautiful, ambitious. However, she came from a poor family, had a sensitive pride, and a strong resentment towards the wealthy. This forced me to downgrade my lifestyle from my freshman year in college to 5 years into my career, hiding my family background. Other than that, she had no flaws. But now, all my efforts have gone to waste. I dragged 2 suitcases, left the keys on the table, and erased the traces of our past love. Mary never knew that my pride was even more sensitive than hers. If she wanted to leave, I would never try to stop her. I wouldn't even question her. I would just choose a random time to completely disappear from her life, without a word, without looking back, and I never give second chances. Uncle Albert drove me back to my mom's place. My mom wasn't home yet. Albert, who had been her driver and confidant through thick and thin, knew her best and said she was probably still in a meeting discussing the launch of a new product. My mom is a strong woman. When my dad made a fortune in business and started living a debauched life, my mom decided to divorce him and take me with her. After the divorce, my dad didn't give us any money. So my mom started from scratch, from running a stall to opening a company, and eventually built a business empire bigger than my dad's. She raised me as her successor. Since she made this empire all on her own, she believes that the best thing she could do for me is to let me work my own way out. If she just hand me the wealth, I might not be able to handle it well and might even become a prick. So she has me starts from a junior finance position in her company after graduation, placing high hopes on me. But I couldn't even protect my own girlfriend. My eyes stung, and I was afraid the tears would fall. I had loved so deeply for these 5 years, and now that love was backfiring on me so harshly. I closed my eyes tightly until my mom called. My mom's voice was calm. "Albert said you moved back and broke up with your girlfriend?" My mom never opposed me living with or dating someone. My voice trembled. She cheated on me. My mom was silent for a while. "Mary works in sales, right? I think you even introduced her to our company for business." Mary's company was a supplier for my mom's company. She always thought I was just a junior finance staff. But the reason the contract with Mary's company went so smoothly was because my mom casually gave it as a small gift to her future daughter-in-law. And it was through these orders from my mom's company that Mary got her promotion. I nodded, feeling the tears about to fall, and could only ask my mom in confusion, "How did you not shed a single tear when you divorced Dad?" My mom was silent for a few seconds, then said calmly, "Your dad tried to use you to control me. He said if I wanted custody of you, I had to leave with nothing." On the day of the divorce, I cut all emotions out of my mind. I opened my mouth, feeling the tears flow back. I never knew my mom gave up everything to fight for me. Those hard days we endured together, the bitterness that I will never forget, were all for me. My voice calmed down. "Got it, Mom. Don't worry about me. I'm going to sleep now. I have to work tomorrow." My mom laughed. The next day, I went to work as usual. Mary didn't call me, but around noon, she sent me a message. "Did you move out?" I replied with a simple yes. My message kept showing Mary is typing for a long time. Finally, she sent a message. "In that case, let's meet at the coffee shop next to your office at noon to clear things up." No attempt to keep me, just straight to the point. I smiled bitterly. She was indeed the woman I liked, straightforward and decisive. I agreed and went to the coffee shop during my lunch break. I thought she might come to apologize, but I never expected her to bring the other man to show off. As soon as I entered the coffee shop, I saw Jack holding Mary close, and I was stunned. I wouldn't have been shocked by anyone else, but Jack, he and I had been at odds throughout our 4 years in college, and Mary knew that. She used to despise Jack the most for his arrogance and wealth, and had even caused several conflicts between us. Seeing them together now was like seeing a ghost in broad daylight. I walked in and sat across from them, feeling a mix of emotions and at a loss for what to do, as if I were the third wheel. It wasn't until I caught Jack's provocative gaze that I snapped out of it, straightened my back, and asked Mary, "Did you bring your lover here to show off?" Mary lowered her eyes, not looking at me, her lips tightly pressed together. Jack laughed. "Seth, have you ever heard the saying? In a relationship, the one who isn't loved is the third wheel." I didn't even bother to look at him, just stared at Mary. "I've packed my things and moved out. I've paid this month's rent for you. We have no other ties. Do you have anything else to say? If not, I'm leaving." Mary remained silent, just tapping the table mechanically. I knew this habit of hers. She did it when she felt bad. I got up to leave, but Jack couldn't help but add, "Today, I wanted to see you, Seth. In college, you were more popular than me, but in the real world, if I want to take your woman, I will. No matter how cunning you are, you can only admit defeat. It's not your fault you don't have rich parents." I stopped, turned around, and sat back down, ignoring Jack's bragging, and stared at Mary. "Is it true? Are you with him for money?" Mary's brows furrowed tightly, her lips trembling slightly. I took a deep breath. "Mary, stop pretending. Are you with him for money? Was all your pride in college just an act?" Mary slowly opened her eyes, glanced at me, then looked away. "Seth, give it up. What Jack can give me, you can't. There are reasons, but I don't know them." I didn't know what reasons she had, nor what promises Jack had made. At this point, I didn't care to find out. I was more curious about something else. I turned to Jack. "You know she's with you for money, and you don't mind?" Jack sneered. "I'm thrilled. Sleeping with your woman, you have no idea how satisfying it is. Isn't money meant to bring happiness?" A huge sense of absurdity hit me, and I felt like I was watching a dark comedy. I couldn't help but laugh. Jack kept laughing. "I can pay for Mary's BMW down payment, but you can't. Seth, are you upset? You schemed against me in college, and now I'm getting my revenge. This is karma." I laughed so hard that tears almost came out. It was truly ridiculous. When I had laughed enough, I slowly took out a gold card from my pocket and threw it forcefully at Mary's face. "There's $3 million on this card. The password is my birthday. Consider it payment for the years I spent with you. And Jack, you have a persecution complex?" With that, I stood up and walked away. Mary was stunned for a moment, then suddenly chased after me, grabbing my wrist. "Seth, where did you get so much money? What have you been hiding from me?" Her tone was angry and panicked, as if I were still her boyfriend. My suppressed anger finally exploded. I turned. "How dare you ask me? Mary, who do you think you are?" Mary stood there. I pulled my hand away and walked out with large strides, not bothering to look back. 5 years of love, gone. I returned to my desk at work, and as soon as I sat down, my phone started buzzing incessantly. I glanced at it and saw that Jack had posted several close-up photos of him and Mary in our college group chat. From today onwards, the group fell silent. Everyone knew Mary and I had been together since our freshman year and thought we would get married. No one expected Mary to be taken by my archenemy, and even fewer expected Jack to be so brazen about it. The silence lasted a few minutes before someone finally responded to Jack's barrage. "Both of you are just ugly, inside and out." Jack, who had been pampered since childhood and had a bad temper, surprisingly remained silent and stopped posting photos. My mood, which had been gloomy, was lifted by that comment. But then I remembered that this person was the root of my 4-year war with Jack, and I couldn't laugh anymore. Her name was Grace, and like Mary, she was very popular with the boys in college. After she once saved Jack, he fell in love with her. Back then, Jack and I were still friends, and I often heard him praise Grace. But for some inexplicable reason, Grace took a liking to me and publicly confessed her feelings, which I had to politely decline out of respect for Jack. Grace took it in stride, but Jack couldn't get over it. He couldn't accept that someone would choose me over him and accused me of seducing Grace behind his back, no matter how much I explained. From then on, we became bitter enemies for 4 years. Today, by taking Mary, Jack had scored a perfect revenge. I saw Grace send me a friend request. "Are you okay? Let me treat you to a meal to celebrate the departure of a cheater." I sighed. This tangled mess was something I no longer wanted to be involved in. So I ignored the request and put my phone down to focus on work. After a busy afternoon, just as I was about to leave work, my rarely seen father called me. His voice was ingratiating and humble. "Seth, it's Dad's birthday this Friday. You're my only child. You have to come celebrate with me." "I'm busy," I replied curtly. After cheating on my mom, my dad had been conned by several women. If it weren't for his substantial assets, he might have lost everything. The most dangerous incident was a few years ago when he almost lost his life in a scam. After narrowly escaping death and seeing my mom's business flourish, he suddenly started missing my mom and began harassing her endlessly. When my mom blocked him, he turned to me, but I had long been hurt by him and didn't want to see him at all. I was about to hang up when I heard him shout, "Don't hang up. Your mom agreed to let you come. Ask her if you don't believe me." I didn't believe him. My mom had blocked him long ago. I was about to hang up when I suddenly heard my mom's voice, low and serious, above me. "Go. I told him you would." I looked up to see my mom standing by my desk, her face stern. My mom was always decisive. Though I had a million questions, I could only agree. My dad was overjoyed and kept sending me messages, chattering away until I got home. But he didn't know that all his habits would drag me back to the past, making me relive the nightmare. After divorcing my mom, my dad indulged in a life of luxury, neglecting me. Meanwhile, my mom and I were at our poorest. My mom had a bad temper and a stubborn nature, refusing to ask my dad for help no matter how tough things got. We were so poor that we feared getting sick because we couldn't afford going to the hospital. I used to resent my mom for not asking my dad for help, thinking that as his son, he wouldn't abandon me. This resentment lasted until a rainy day when I was 16. I was taking shelter in a mall when I saw my dad. I still had his last name then. I saw him and his friends, each with a young woman in their arms. When they passed a phone store, one of the women pointed at a phone and said, "This phone looks nice." My dad waved his hand. "Buy one in every color for you to switch around." The young woman kissed my dad, leaving a lipstick mark on his face, and he laughed heartily, drawing everyone's attention. I looked at my worn-out shoes and shabby backpack and found my dad's laughter grating. I ran out into the rain, unwilling to stay in the same place as him. I ran through the rain, not understanding why other dads picked up their kids and helped with homework while mine spent money to make young women smile. After a while, I remembered something serious. If I got sick from the rain, my mom would have to spend money to take me to the hospital. This thought made me even sadder. Fortunately, a passing girl held an umbrella over my head. I'll walk you home. Don't cry, okay? I nodded, walking under her umbrella, sniffling all the way home. At the door, I thanked her and, afraid she might tell others about my sorry state, awkwardly asked her to keep it a secret. She laughed. From the moment you walk in, I'll forget everything. I've never seen you, don't know you, okay? I nodded, blushing, and looked back before entering. She was still there, holding the umbrella, but the rain was too heavy for me to see her face clearly. I never saw her again, and no one knew about my embarrassment. After that day, I asked my mom to change my last name to Smith. So no matter how much my dad tried to please me today, I would always remember that rainy day. But even avoiding my dad didn't let me sleep well. Mary called me in the middle of the night, and I groggily answered. Her voice was hoarse, as if she had been crying. Seth, my mom was diagnosed with cancer recently. I borrowed a lot of money. I'm so tired. You know, money can really save lives. I had no choice. I want my parents to live in a nice house, drive a good car. I don't want to be helpless if they get sick again. All the curses I had in my mind were swallowed back. I knew the fear of illness and poverty. I had been poor and understood how deeply it could push someone into a terrifying abyss. Before that rainy day when I was 16, hadn't I also resented my mom for not going back to my dad? I sighed. Fate was playing tricks on us. I had hidden my background to be with her without any barriers, but it ended up being the reason for our separation. If I hadn't hidden it, would things have turned out differently? I smiled bitterly, ready to tell her the absurd truth. Mary, I don't bless or curse you. You and Jack can be happy together. But actually, my family. Before I could finish, Mary interrupted excitedly. Seth, I sent that gold card back to your office. Can you return it to the owner? Wait for me. When I have money, I'll come back and marry you. Jack and I are just playing along, each getting what we need. I'm not serious about him.